right, welcome back. We're breaking down the Scott Nelson case. It's on break for the rest of through the holiday, but it has been riveting, and today was no exception to the couple of witnesses they had up there where the defendant had an altercation, if you will, a verbal altercation with the judge. He got agitated during the time that the defense had called a witness, a Bureau of Prisons prison expert. Let's take a quick look at the clip, and I got that special guest that's going to come back on the other end that's actually down there at the courthouse.
Isn't it outside the scope of this witness's expertise?
Jesus Christ. Madam Court Reporter, can you read back the question?
Mr. Nelson has chosen adverse effects for the special housing that
You can't call me.
I'm sorry.
Please
Mr. Nelson, Mr. Nelson, you need to take a moment. Mr. Nelson, you need to take a moment with your
He's
attorneys.
out of control.
Hold on, sir. Sir. Members of the jury, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Nelson,
I'm not a racist.
Mr. Nelson, are we clear that you're going to stop talking? I need a verbal affirmative.
Yes. Your Honor, I'd like to ask the word.
Mr. Nelson, talk with your attorneys, and then your attorneys. I'm going to, Mr. Nelson.
Tackle him like an idiot.
Mr. Nelson, Ms. Simmons has asked for a moment to talk with you privately. I'm going to grant her request, and you're going to have that opportunity. You need to follow the deputy's instructions so they can facilitate this. Okay, go ahead.
Wow, that's something else happening right in front of the jury. I've had this happen a couple of times myself, and as a prosecutor, you are just inside. You may be blank face, not showing your cards, but you are like, thank you, thank you, thank you. The trial gods are shining upon me. Let his true colors be shown to this jury. I've got with us Elyna Niles Carnes, who is a producer who's down there. Welcome to the show, Elyna.
Hi, thank you.
Elyna, so this kind of thing. It's what I've been talking about with this guy. It's got the creepy factor with this case to begin with, but I want to make an observation that I told the people before I came on the show when I saw that clip, is I would love to sit there with the one lawyer who was sitting down when that was going on and you saw the sheriff's officer circling there. I would like to call her up and say, listen, you're doing a great job, but you need to be careful with this guy. I note that he's got a pencil in his hand, and I'm telling you, this seems like the kind of narcissistic personality of an individual who at any moment could decide he's going to have his moment of glory and fame with another random person, i.e. his lawyer, and put that pencil in her chest. She needs to back away. Is that the feeling you're getting down there? This guy is just really creepy beyond creepy?
Well, as you know, since you guys have been following the trial, this is not the first outburst he had. Even during jury selection, he starts mumbling and he starts rambling. And the judge several times has to ask him and ask his lawyers to be quiet, and that his lawyers can only speak for Nelson. And Nelson actually doesn't even have a pencil. He has a pen, but without the cap. So it's just the ink and the pen, and then he writes with his left hand. But every time that Nelson starts speaking at a turn, because he's not supposed to speak at all, his lawyers, they start backing away, and then that's when the deputies always start approaching the bench or where Nelson is sitting.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried a lot of murder cases in my day on both sides of the aisle as a prosecutor and defense lawyer, and I never would have felt uncomfortable that there was going to be like a violent assault. I did have a situation once where they cleared the jury out because he started getting the defendant agitated during cross-examination on the stand and was having an outburst. But this guy is just a really dangerous character to me. Now, this all emanated out of this prison expert that the defense called, and you may have a better insight to this than we do, but it seemed in many areas that this prison expert was actually a good witness for the prosecution with regard to his institutional record and all the infractions he had. Is it your sense that they're merely calling him just to show that this guy's had a really hard life, and do you think that witness was effective for them, or did he fall apart for the defense?
I think he fell apart for the defense because the prosecution got the guy to testify that he never even met Nelson and that he was briefly there at the same time Nelson was. He was mainly talking about his experience and the things that inmates do to almost get a one-up while they're in prison, about how they try and create isolation for themselves, and that they discussed a lot about how Nelson was in the prison. And a lot of people did not like Nelson, and he was very open about how Nelson didn't like many people in prison and how he mainly only got along with the Hispanics.
Right, just real quick, Elyna, before I know you got to go, but what exactly was he angry at? Like, what about that testimony got him upset?
Several times, the man on the stand had to keep saying how Nelson did not get along with anyone and how he was only getting along with the Hispanics. That is when he started to get agitated. He said, when am I going to start testifying? I want to take the stand. I am not a racist. And that's when the judge asked him to calm down and that the lawyers could only speak for him. Then the judge let the jurors go out of the courtroom so Nelson could calm down, and he continued to get more animated. And then that's when you see the courtroom security get him closer, or, start getting closer to Nelson, and they eventually had to escort him to the side of the room, outside of the courtroom itself, to calm down. And they probably were in recess about 10-15 minutes until he said he came back, and that quote, he was just in his feelings.
Wow, Elyna Niles Carnes, excellent insights. I really enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you be well.